So last time we had just finished updating our towers. So we added the accuracy thing, but I never changed the value in here to actually make it not completely accurate. So I'm gonna just spawn a tower. We'll just see he doesn't shoot exactly where the enemy is. We can make this more or less accurate if we want to. Just leave that at 5 for now. But so in the help section, I was talking to somebody about having like a base class and an inherited class, so you don't have to write the same code like 4 times over or copy paste it. So I'm gonna show how to do that real quick. We're gonna make a base tower class that the other towers are gonna inherit from. And that should make it easier to grab them in the game controller and to spawn them in and stuff. So let me do that. TD. I'm gonna call it base tower. So when it opens, I'm just gonna, because I think all of these values are shared among the towers. Like they should all have their own shot speed, rotation speed, target attack range, all that stuff. So I think I could just copy this all over to the base tower. And then I'm just gonna change the shoot. I'm gonna name it public virtual void shoot. I get rid of the inside of it. And then in the cannon controller, I'm gonna say it inherits from the base tower instead of a mono behavior. We have to say public override void shoot. And I'll paste that in there. So I will make the cools variable to a protected so it can access it. So the inheriting object can access the variables. So basically this says all the cannons have everything that the base tower has, except for we're just gonna specify the way it shoots. So like this one's just gonna shoot straight ahead, and we can make 2 more towers, like a shotgun tower that shoots 5 shots instead of 1, and we can have like a mortar tower that shoots like they shoot mortars obviously, but they do like an AoE effect instead of just hit one thing and you damage one thing at a time. So we're gonna fix that real quick. So it should look the exact same in the prefab, and it should work the exact same. Yeah, so no problems there. So we're just gonna make more towers now. Do shoddy. And we're also gonna do I'm gonna call it Mortar Tower controller so I don't get confused with the actual shell that we shoot. And then bullet controller. Yeah, I'm gonna make one more Mortar Shell controller, I'm gonna call it. So in the shoddy, we're just gonna delete all that. We're gonna have an inherit from the base tower. We just need to say public override void shoot. And I'm gonna just so this was written a little different in mine. Yeah, because child is the okay. make this a little better. So let's do public game object. So we're going to specify where the bullets are spawned now. Bullets spawn. We're going to make this an array because in the first tower, if I can zoom in on the city more, this is just a single place, a single cannon or whatever. This one's a single cannon, but this one has two shots, two places you can shoot out of. So I'm gonna specify where it'll shoot out of both sides, both cannons at the same time. So I'm gonna go bullet spawn. When we shoot, we're just gonna, let's see down here, we're not specifying. So we'll just say, here we're gonna say bullet spawn 0.transform.position. Because this only has one position we want to spawn out of, so just 0. Then in the shoddy tower, I'm going to say for I equals 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. I'll put that inside of another for loop. I is less than bullet spawn dot length. I plus plus. So for each of our bullet spawns, then we're gonna spawn 5 bullets. So a total of 10 bullets are gonna be spawned. And then at the end, we're just gonna say equals time between shots. No. What do we call it in here? Shoot speed. We'll just say something like, I'm just gonna copy the spawn one, paste it in there. I'm gonna do spawn II instead. And rotation. So this is gonna give it a random range, but I'm also gonna make the shot spread out a little bit more. So I'm gonna do times quaternion dot Euler from 0, 0, and let's say something like there's 5 shots, 15f time plus I times 3 or something like that. So negative 15. So the very first shot's going to be at negative 15 degrees of what we're aiming. Second shot's going to be negative 12, negative 9. I want it to be 3, so it's 5. Yeah, there you go. I'm dumb. So negative 15 degrees, negative 10 degrees, 5 degrees. Negative 10, 5, 0, 5, 10. Yeah, sorry. Just messed up my whole window. There we go. So, to make another prefab for this one, so I'm going to drag this one out. I'm gonna disconnect it from the other prefab. I'm gonna call this shoddy. Add the shoddy controller. Oh, first we have to actually add the spawn position. We don't need a sprite. I don't know why I did that. So to see where it goes, I'm just gonna give it a little blue dot. I'm gonna just drag it. There we go. Up a little bit. 0.425, that works. I'll just name it bullet get spawn. There we drag it in right there. So it just needs one. And then in this one, I'm gonna add 2 of those. So when we change the sprite, we should see let's make the shoddy like orange. GD. So we can see that the bullet spawn needs to be like there for the first one. So 0.2 and 0.2.3 maybe? No. 175 to 0.225, something like that. Just gonna duplicate it, and then I'm gonna change this negative to positive. And then I'm gonna click the little lock up here so that I can shift select both of those and just drag it in to the bullet spawn down there. And then I'm just gonna copy basically all these settings for the most part over there. So we want it to be like 0.75 seconds, rotation speed can be 5.2. Attack range should be shorter, so 3-ish. Our child is the cannon base. Our bullet should be the same bullet. We can make them smaller bullets. I do the same thing, just so they look a little different. Accuracy is like 3, I don't know. I'm gonna make a different bullet real quick. Just gonna make it like 0.9 or something. So it's about that small, so you'll shoot about 5 of those out. Then delete, and then I'll drag in the reference, the bottom here, and then I'll just remove the cannon controller. We can't spawn things yet, so we can spawn regular towers, but we can't change what we're spawning. So I'm just gonna put that over there and see if it works. Cool. This one does how much damage? 4 damage, so I'll make the shoddy bullets do like 1 damage. So they're not super OP. Dog is freaking out. You probably very much hear that. There we go. That works out. So that's the shoddy tower. So now we're gonna set it up real quick where you can change which tower you want to spawn. So to do that, we're gonna go into the game controller. Let me see if just making sure I'm still recording. So in the game controller, we're gonna go to, so this is our current tower. We can change this actually to be base tower, since the cannon controller, the mortar tower, and the shoddy tower all are base towers. And because they're all gonna have a new variable called cost, we can reference that when we change towers, so we know how much money we need to spend. So we have tower, we have current tower cost. When we update tower, we're just going to change the cost and which one to spawn. Let's see. Let's see, base tower. So we're going to check tower.cost. When we do that, we're going to up. I mean, we already have those. just do that, it's fine. So our start tower is going to be what we drag in, so we can just drag in whatever we want at first. Probably going to be the cannon in the actual game. So we'll do tower equals, I'll name this new tower so we actually don't get confused. Current tower cost equals new tower.cost. So we'll just make 3 buttons. Like void to cannon. Shoot. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do, I don't want to set up 3 whole functions for this. I'm going to try to set up in 1 function. Base tower, towers. So instead we'll just do int number, tower number. Tower equals towers num. Tower 0. So it's gonna make a list of towers. So it's gonna be the cannon, then the shoddy, then the mortar. So 0 is gonna refer to the cannon controller. I'm gonna just update it at the beginning to point to that. And I think in the inspector you can add functions to buttons with 1 parameter. I know you can do ints and strings. I don't know if you can do complex ones like scripts like base tower and stuff like that. So I'm just going to keep it as num. So do tower equals that, current tower equals that. And then when we spawn a tower, we're saying if content money is greater than current tower cost, give money and instantiate, yep, content tower, cool. So that should hopefully work. I'm gonna make 3 buttons right now. So I'm gonna go UI, button, alt click for the bottom of the screen, up by like 100 or something, 75 even maybe. And then I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit. Changes to be cannon. And then plus the on click. I'm going to drag in the game controller. I'll say td game controller dot update tower to 0. Yep. And then I'll just move this over by like 100, 150 or something. Duplicate it, put it to 0, change its number to 1, duplicate it, 150, change its number to 2. I'll change the text accordingly. Mortar or shoddy. So in the game controller, we can just drag in the prefabs to the towers. And in the prefabs, we're going to change the cost. I think we start with like 300 or something. I forget. Yep, 300. So I'll make these like 125. I'll make these like 200 or something. I don't know. Bouncing part is like, I'm not doing that. just throwing in random numbers. So if we click, it should spawn the first one. If we click on that, click again, we don't have enough money, we need 200. I have enough money. Then it spawns that one. There's no enemies spawning, so it's not gonna do anything else. But yeah, so 2 towers so far. Let's add the third one. Name this. This one's a little more involved. The shooting is the same, but the actual projectile is going to be more complicated because we have to check in a radius around where it hits to see if there's any more enemies to take damage from that, from the explosion. And then we deal damage to all the enemies that are in range. So I'm going to go to the mortar controller. I think I'm going to just copy this and not mess with it at all. So just shoot and then set the cooldown. And then in the shell controller, we're gonna do a little bit extra. So first we're gonna do the regular bullet stuff. But then when we hit, we're gonna do something else. We're gonna check for in a radius around where we hit. So to do that, let me check real quick. Yeah, so we gotta do this. Instead of this, we gotta do collider 2D hit equals physics 2D dot overlap circle, lap circle, shit, overlap circle all. We got to give it a point. It's going to be transformed opposition and a radius. So we need to go up here and give it radius. And then the last thing we have to pass in is the enemy mask. So I'm gonna make a public layer mask, enemy mask. So basically what this is gonna do is when it hits the enemy, it's gonna draw a circle at this position with this radius, and it's gonna check for things on this layer. Anything that it hits, it's gonna try to find the collider attached to it. So for all these colliders, since they're enemies, we're gonna have to find the component, and then we're gonna have them all take damage like this. So, easiest way to do that is to do a for each loop. So for each collider 2D colon hit col dot get component. I'll just paste this now. Col dot get component. I'll take damage. And one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna paste this from something else. I'm gonna do void on draw gizmos, and I'm gonna draw a sphere from my position to the radius, so I know how many enemies are gonna get damaged, so I can kind of see, because if you test it, you can look at what's going on, but you can't really see what the radius is or how many dudes are taking damage from that, unless you have something in game that shows their health above them, or you have little hit points that you'll show when they take damage. Then, you know, so we have to be able to see it somehow. And then this, I don't think we need. Whoops. I don't know if we need the has hurt in here. I'm gonna leave it for now, but I don't think we need it. So then I'm gonna make another bullet. I'm gonna disconnect it. I'm gonna call it Mortar Shell. I'm gonna make it bigger And I'm going to do Mortar Shell controller. It's got to be like, make it super fast. And do like 7 damage or something. And have a radius of 1.5 maybe? I don't know. Enemy mask. We have an enemy mask. I don't know if they're on that layer though. Yeah, they're not. So we're going to go layer and enemy. Enemies hit each other on the layer or no? They cannot. So enemies go through other enemies. It'll work in our favor later when the enemies are all spawning right here on top of each other. Then they won't like push each other away and mess up the pathfinding stuff. Not even pathfinding, but whatever. So Mortar Shell, we can remove and drag in as a prefab. And then drag in Mortar Shell as the bullet there. We'll make it super accurate. 1 bullet spawn, I'm gonna make it cost like 250 maybe? I don't know. Attack range is gonna be like 7 or something crazy. Shoot speed is gonna be like 1 second. 1.125 or something like that. I'm gonna drag it in. Oh, actually, I forgot to change the sprite. So I'm gonna go TD. It's gonna be this purpley one, if you want to call it. There we go. And its bullet spawn is gonna be a little down right there-ish. So then we can delete it and delete it. And in the enemy, oh sorry, in the game controller, we can drag in the last tower. It's got that big of a range. Yeah. So it did 7 damage each. I don't know how much health they had. I don't remember. Health is 20. So maybe I'll do it like 10 damage or something per. Let me see. So 10 damage, so I'll make it do 2 hits to kill these guys. Yeah. We can make the radius bigger too if we need to later on. But, let's try to spawn some enemies now, I think. So like I said last time, this one's going to be more involved. Instead of spawning 1 enemy at a time, we're going to spawn waves. So a wave can have like between 5 and 10 enemies, something like that, and it'll keep getting harder and harder as we go on. So, I have low high. Cool. So I'm just gonna space these out a little bit. Public float time between spawns low. Public float time between spawns high. Also, I'm gonna do public int enemies per wave low and enemies per wave high. Do I have a cools? I don't have a cools yet. Cools float wave cools enemies to spawn. Oh, oops. Int enemies this wave. Game object. Spawn. So I think we need a function to spawn enemies first. Void spawn enemy. So we're gonna have at the beginning the wave's gonna be 0, so it'll give you like 1 to 2 seconds, or half second to a second before the first enemy spawns, and it's gonna have to spawn between like 3 and 5 enemies or something. And every time it spawns an enemy, it's gonna increase this one until it gets to this number. So it starts at 0. When you spawn an enemy, it's gonna increment enemies this wave until it gets to enemies to spawn, and it's gonna stop spawning. And then once the wave cools is less than or equal to 0, it's going to update enemies to spawn and reset this to 0. So then you start a new wave and you can spawn however many dudes you want to spawn. So I'm going to do something like, I think enemies to spawn is just, yeah. So when we spawn enemy, we'll just say instantiate an enemy. What enemy yet? Duh. Public name object enemies. So I'll just do enemies 0 for now because we have one enemy. It's gonna spawn at spawn.transform.position with quaternion.euler. I think it was 0090 maybe. I might have to fix this if it's facing backwards at the beginning. I don't know. And then we're gonna say enemies this wave plus plus and cools equals time between enemies low and time between enemies high. I think that works. Do we have a die in here? We don't have a die. So we don't have die in here yet. We need to add that after to spawn enemy. Then we need to just check and update for if we need to spawn an enemy or not. So let's see, last waypoint. Sorry, just double checking to make sure I don't type this wrong. So if cools is greater than 0, cools minus equals time dot delta time. If wave cools is greater than 0, wave cools minus equals time dot delta time. We'll say if cools is less than or equal to 0, then we can spawn an enemy. Oh, sorry. If it's less than 0 and enemies this wave is less than enemies to spawn. So if our cooldown's done and we haven't spawned the amount of enemies yet, then we're going to spawn enemy. And then we'll say if wave cools is less than or equal to 0, then we'll say enemies this wave equals 0 and enemies to spawn equals random dot range enemies per wave low and enemies per wave high. So we can spawn enemies again, and we're gonna reset how many enemies we want to spawn. And we're also gonna update wave cools I put this wrong. I think in here, I have a set number for here. Time between spawns, time between enemies. Because I do have extra things on mine. Just gonna make 2 more and call time between enemies, low and high. It needs to be more clear. Time between waves, low and high. I think that works. And I did one more thing. I'm gonna say at the beginning, invoke repeating up enemy rate. So as time goes on, we're gonna spawn more enemies. So we're gonna do that by making a function called up enemy rate that just increments this every time we call it. And we're gonna start calling it after 5 seconds after the wave spawns and keep calling it every 10 seconds. So we're just gonna say void up enemy rate, and we'll just say enemies per wave low plus plus, enemies per wave high plus plus. I think that's all we need. See if it works. So then I'm just going to drag in the enemy to the enemies. I don't know if we have we don't have a spawn point yet, so I'm going to make a spawn point. Delete that enemy from there. So our spawn point is going to be somewhere off to the side here. I'm going to give it a little icon so we see it. Drag it into the game controller. Say we want the enemies to be like between 2 and 5 or something. Time between waves, we'll do like spawning between enemies between half a second and a second. And then time between waves, let's do like 10 to 15 seconds or something. I don't know. Let's make it testable first, 5 to 10 seconds. That's all we need right now. See if it breaks when we play it. So spawn 2 of them. Okay, so it's spawning them aiming weird. Oh, we have a spawn position already. Huh. It's spawning backwards, I think. So it should be -90 then. Also not on equal ground with the other one, so let me see. Waypoints is at -3.5. This one is at 0.5. Weird. I think it's because they're rotating. They're not looking right. I'm gonna spawn them. -90 maybe? Let's see. Yeah, -90. Yep. Now it looks good. See if this works. They should do an AoE and yeah, they all die. So that works. Let's retest this now. Yeah, so it kind of works. I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna say I want the waves to kind of happen faster and faster too. Sorry, this one. But I don't want it to go down a certain. I don't want it to go down too low. I'll say time between waves low. Minus equals, there you go, 0.3f or something like that. I'll do this. Say like if time between waves low is greater than like 2 seconds or something, then I can decrement it. So I go to the game controller and I can see this all happen. 7 seconds right now. 6.7. Another 10. Yep, there you go. And we can drag it down to check it too. And we can have a lot of enemies show up. So this won't get harder until we drag these numbers up, but it can spawn a lot of enemies. And it just gets crazy. So now let's add some more enemies. We have to make that one a little smaller. So right now we have, let's see. We have this guy. We have a Jeep. We have 4 more enemies we can make. Probably just gonna duplicate them and then change their stats around. Let's do that real quick. I mean this one APC, I think it was called. Maybe APC. I'm gonna disconnect it. Change its sprite to the Jeep. Looks very small. Sprite's almost the same too. Weird. I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but 0.4 to 0.6. I'm gonna also have these ones in the scene so I can compare them to each other. This one's slightly bigger still, so I'm gonna make this one even slower. So even faster. 500 speed, like, 600 speed with like a max HP of like 15 or something. It does less damage though and has less money. Drag it in. I'm gonna disconnect this one. This one's gonna be mobile artillery. Gonna be bigger and slower. Give it like 30 health or something. Slow rotation speed. 25 damage. I'll give it like 35. Is it called enemy mobile artillery? And this one is gonna be tank. Make the tank huge. I'll give it like 300. I'll give it like 55 health. Slow rotation. Massive damage. And 50-ish health. I don't know what the last one is though. Oh, the truck. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's gonna be a big tank. I'll make it like 75, 65, 40. I'll keep it 35. Yeah. The last one's gonna be the truck. Enemy truck. Enemy truck. Yeah. A little smaller. I'm gonna change this one's collider though. Totally fine. Make this one 500. 475. I'll give it like 45 health. I don't know. This might not be consistent at all, but it's fine. It works for me. Put them all in there. Then in the game controller, I'm going to drag them all in. So right now I have enemy APC. So I'm going to drag in enemy Jeep, enemy mobile artillery, enemy tank, and enemy truck. And then in the game controller, we have to update our spawn enemies to spawn a random enemy between 0 and enemies dot length. Maybe -1. We'll see if it breaks. But it's not inclusive, so it should be fine. This was a little too fast, I think. These two should be faster. Jeep's pretty fast. Yeah, the trucks are way too fast. Let me change that. 375. These might need to be a little bit faster. The tank is... The artillery is way too fast too. I can just tweak these all day, but it's fine. Like actual tanks. Let me just make this impossible real quick. So low waves and low spawn. We'll just have a ton of enemies. Don't have a shotgun yet. Took that much damage. Maybe we should have less health too. Let me see. The health is 100 right at the beginning. I'll make it like 75 or something. It's also very hard to lose in this game, especially if you spawn a bunch of shotguns and mortars everywhere. Yeah, so you could like tweak this for a long time and just give everything a bunch of health, make it give you less money or something. I don't know, something like that. But I'm gonna add some polish for now. So we have where is it? We have the explosion and the flash still, so we can use these for spawning our towers, or for spawning our bullets, and for when the enemies die, we can spawn an explosion. We gotta change the size though, so I'm gonna have to re-put them in there. Let me see. Oh, the flash is fine. The explosion should be fine too, I think. Cool. So we'll just go into the spawner. The public game object flash. And then for the enemies, I'll go public game object explosion. When you die, you'll just do instantiate explosion at transform.position and quaternion.euler. So at a random rotation. And then just deactivate it, so that works fine. Oops. Gotta paste that. So we can also instantiate flash I think we just need to spawn it at the rotation though. So we'll go to the mortar tower and do the same thing. And for the shoddy, we'll spawn at II instead. So I think that works. So we'll just need to go into each tower. Assets, flash. And then for every enemy, we have to do this. That'll take me a minute, but it'll look nice at least. It's fine. There's more artillery. So that one's good. This one's going to be the flash. And one more. Hopefully that's all of them. disable that so we can actually see it. Oh no. It's not shooting it at all. Weird. Explosions are working, but the flash is not spawning. Maybe it's spawning it underneath the tiles. It's at layer 0. Let's make it like layer 4 or something. Yeah, so it's just underneath everything else. So it's still working. We would just like tweak where this thing yeah, that works. Cool. Just make sure it works for everything. I don't have a button to give me money, so I also have my speed up. Wow. Yeah, this cannon's OP. I think the AI is breaking when I'm going too fast too. Yeah, it breaks when it goes too fast. Oh well. So one more thing I have to do is set up the dying condition. So in the game controller, we'll just say when we lose health, if our health is less than 0, then do something. If HP is less than equal to 0, let me do this. Let me do bool is alive. Do is alive equal to true. Ooh, good typing. Is true. And we'll say if is alive. So is alive equals false. And then we'll activate our UI. I'll do two things. Reset cools equals 0.3f or something. Set it here in case it doesn't set it. And then I'll say public game object dead UI. So down here I'll say activate the dead UI. So activate to true. Then outside of this if statement, I'll say if not is alive, reset cools minus equals time dot delta time. Also if it's greater than 0. If reset cools is less than or equal to 0, and input dot get any input dot any key. Then we're going to reset the level. So I'm going to go up and get a reference to scene management. And I'm going to say reset the level down here. Dot load scene. Scene manager dot get active scene dot name. So if we're dead, then after like 0.3 seconds, if we push any button, then we're going to reset the level. So now we need to actually make the UI for that. just make an image. Same as last time, I'm gonna Shift Alt, click the bottom right one so it sizes the whole thing. Change its opacity. Make it a wall spread. I don't think it matters. I'm gonna call this dead UI. And then I'll say up by like 80, I don't know, 82.5 or something. It's like every time. 40.5, not 340. Overflow on both and centered. I'll say press any key to any can to restart. You died. Press any key to restart. Let me actually put it in here so we can test it easier. If input.get key down, key code dot L. Take damage 10. So if I push the L key when I'm in the editor, I'm going to take 10 damage. Also, we gotta disable this and drag it into the game controller. Put that menu down. So then, oh, it's not showing the UI right. That's cool. I was wondering why it was really low. Fill amount equals HP over max HP. Weird. Let's do this instead. Put it down there at the bottom of that instead. There we go, that's better. Well, it wasn't working like that, but okay. So it stops spawning dudes, and if you push any button after you die, then it restarts. So if I click, then it does it too. Yeah, cool. I think that's all we need for this game. Or not all we need, all I did for this game. I think everything works fine. But yeah, cool. Don't know what the plan is on Thursday, because progress reports are due Sunday, so I'll try to have it. If you guys need help, then you can ask questions. Otherwise, I don't think I'm gonna do anything. I might try to like polish some of these games and add some more stuff to it, maybe, just because I'll be here, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm gonna hang out for 5 more minutes if there's any questions.